Hello and welcome to the Blood Components Lab. I'm going to go over a little bit about what we're going to be doing here today. We're going to be looking at the different components of blood, and we're going to be representing those different components with a few different ingredients. So in this lab we have a bit of a recipe, and you can see that here on the sheet right there of everything that you need. One of the first things that's going to ask you to do is to try to figure out what these components actually represent. We have corn syrup right here. We have some sprinkles. We have some red berries, some yogurt-covered raisins, which on the sheet you'll notice it actually says Tic Tac, but in this case we're substituting the Tic Tacs for yogurt-covered raisins. And then there's some measuring spoons and a spoon for the mixing and measuring. On the back of this sheet here, if you flip it over, you'll notice that there's a little diagram, and there's a little thing here that shows you what the blood actually looks like and how it separates after it's been separated. And you can see here that the top area usually is the plasma. Now the plasma is very liquidy. In fact, it's 91% water. So you're going to probably wonder which of these ingredients is most like that. And as you can probably guess, the corn syrup, which is watery, it sloshes around like that, is similar to plasma. It has sort of a similar color, a bit of a similar consistency, and like plasma, it is mostly water. The other elements, if you look down at the bottom, the large component of your blood is red blood cells. Now, in this case, you can see that the berries are red, and they're going to be representing your red blood cells. And the very, very small amount of our blood is something that they call the buffy coat, and the buffy coat actually has more than one substance in it. It consists of white blood cells and platelets. And in the buffy coat, most of the buffy coat is actually platelets. And a very small amount is the white blood cells. And we're going to be using the sprinkles to represent the platelets, and we're going to be using the Tic Tacs or the raisins, the yogurt-covered raisins, to represent the white blood cells. And in truth, the amount of raisins that we have, we're only going to be using one in this recipe, is actually probably a little bit more than you actually would have if we were actually to get the ratios right. Excuse the bell. And so that's what we're going to be doing today. You want to follow the directions on your sheet. It does explain what you need to do. One of the first things you need to do is, beside the recipe here, I want you to write what they actually represent. I also want you to write down in here what they represent. And you're going to have to use your textbook to talk about what the characteristics of each are. I'll go over it really briefly right now. The red blood cells right here are the transporters of a lot of the nutrients, and especially oxygen in your blood. So we really need our red blood cells to do that. We also have our white blood cells, and they are a key part of our immune system. They are going to help fight off a lot of viruses and things that we don't want in our body. And the platelets right here, which we're using to represent the platelets, are the things that we need to heal wounds. So if we have a cut, the platelets are the things that are going to help block the opening and start to help form a scab and to close over the wound. So our platelets are also very important. Without them, we would probably bleed to death. The plasma is the sort of liquid that helps keep everything flowing. We wouldn't want our blood to be solid, and so our plasma is something that's going to help us do that. But there is a lot more information in your textbook, so make sure you take a look at that. When you turn the page over, you're going to see this diagram here, and this is actually what the cells look like under a microscope. And you can see here that right here, this one here, is what the red cell looks like. This is a white blood cell. This right here is what the platelets look like. And of course, we can't really see the plasma, but around all of those things would be the plasma. So make sure you label that diagram so that you can say what everything is. Down here at the bottom, there's just a couple of questions that you need to be talking about, and I think you can figure out most of that on your own. So have fun, and of course at the end, you may eat your blood. Make sure that you share. The recipe is for one whole group, so if you want to, after you've done the lab, each take a small amount of the recipe, you can eat it, but do remember it's super, super sweet, so be warned.